Good morning. Happy Friday to all of you. It is Friday, March 5th, and we are going to wrap up the week this week with finishing what we've learned with lesson one and lesson two with classifying angles. So, your learning target is still I can classify and identify angles. And if you notice on the agenda at number one, you're going to work on a warm up first. And that warm up should take you about 10 minutes, no longer, so you can accomplish the other things on the agenda that I have you doing and working through. And so your warm up is on that quiz. And so I want to go over that for a few minutes. So if I bring that up right here, get rid of me. And we're going to go back to geometry like we were the other day and go down to the angles option. Now, we did measure last week. We're not going to measure angles. What I want you to do is actually check line. And I'm going to have you start at level one. So keep it at a length of 10. And what you're going to do is you're going to work your way through as many levels as you can, identifying a missing angle measure depending on what type of angle you are looking at or angles you are looking at. So for example, on your screen right now, this very first one, when you look at that, the first thing you do is classify it. So over the last day and a half or so, we talked about supplementary and complementary. That right there is a supplementary angle. So you see the 90 degrees, and right next to it, adjacent to it, is the angle that we don't know. But remember, those two angles add together to give you 180 degrees for this straight line right here. So what am I missing? If this is 90, what gives me 180? So what can I add to that 90 to give me 180 degrees? Well, 90, that's what that missing angle is. 90 plus 90 is 180. That gives me my supplementary angle. Next, I look at this one. So again, I see two angles that are adjacent to each other, right next to each other. And it has a straight line that is split by a ray. And so I see 30 degrees here. If I know, again, I need to get to 180. I need to see what is missing here. What can I add to 30 to give me this 180 degree line? Well, 150, right? 150 degrees. So remember, make sense of it when you're finding these. And what I mean by that is this missing angle is obtuse. So this large angle right here has to be over 90 degrees. And then after you figure that out and identify that, yep, 150 plus 30 does give me that 180. Okay, it's a supplementary angle. Next, same thing. You have supplementary here again, but they're also adjacent. So usually what's going to happen is with your supplementary angles, you are going to see that they're adjacent to each other. You're going to have that 180 degree line that's split by this ray, and those two angles are absolutely going to be adjacent and next to each other. So you have 150 degrees here. Over here missing to make that 180 is 30 degrees, and so on. So you're going to see within this first level quite a few of those type of angles. So this would be 60. This is again supplementary. But you are also going to see an example like this. So this one right here, this number 5 that I'm looking at. Now you got to think about what are all the angles we've learned this week. We've learned how to classify with right, acute, obtuse, straight. We've learned to classify with vertical and adjacent. We've learned to classify with complementary and supplementary. So all of these angles are mixed in this review for your warm-up. What I see right here is vertical. So notice that these are directly across from each other, directly opposite of each other. This one in the bottom left corner is 120 degrees. And if I can identify and know that these are vertical angles, this up top in the right corner is also going to be 120 degrees because they are vertical. Okay, there's another one here. So same thing, these are vertical angles, right? This is 150 here in the upper right corner. Directly opposite of that is also 150 because they're vertical. So when you get these pictures in front of you, these angles, take a minute to look at them and make sure you do understand what you're working with. So I just had some supplementary that I started this level with, and then some vertical angles came in, and then guess what? On the screen again here, it's going back to supplementary. So over here on the right, these two adjacent angles put together give you that straight line. So I'm missing 120 there. 120 plus 60 gives me 180. One more for this level, vertical. So X is 60. So just be careful, right? Take your time, really look at those. And what you're going to notice, depending on how many levels you can get done within about 10 minutes, I'm going to show you some things in level 8 here. You're now not going to get necessarily some even numbers, right? So it might not be as easy to see what that missing measure is. It just depends, again, what kind of angle you're looking at. Now, I move to level 8. I look at this one in front of me. These are vertical. So these are directly across from each other. This is 36. X is also 36. These are supplementary. So these are right next to each other. So if you're having a hard time trying to figure out what that missing angle is, because you know it has to equal 180, but you're thinking, okay, 126, what's going to give me 180? Use your calculator if you need to, that's fine. So that means you should be doing 180 minus 126. That missing angle here is 54 degrees. Don't mind Max barking in the background. Okay. So I'm going to leave you here now that I've gone through those directions. 10 minutes on this, please. 10 minutes. Practice. Get used to identifying those angles and finding those missing measurements. After you've gone through 10 minutes, so maybe crew teachers, if you could set a timer, keep your eye on the clock and just make sure no longer than 10 minutes, you're going to head to number 2. So I'm going to meet you back in this next video. So again, when your warm-up is done, come to number 2, watch the video on what you're going to do to classify angles and review on some worksheets. I'll see you back here in a few.